Jesus loves me more than you, hashtag is pure gold. It brilliantly illustrates the selfishness and utter narcissism inherent in the practice of what I call blessing boasting. And some examples so far, and we're talking about people who like to talk about what Jesus did for them and brag. They're basically bragging about about their good life. Remember when Jesus helped me find my pants just in time for your aunt's funeral? Jesus loves me more than you. And there's another one. It says, remember when Jesus got me covered parking at work and your father got Alzheimer's? Jesus loves me more than you. Blessing, boasting, or blessing, bragging. It's more to draw attention to themselves rather than to what I think people should be doing is to be looking out for other people and seeing how we can help other people.
Say that I need to be saved. Say with me, the devil got his way. I want to know how when you are praying, when you are doomsdaying, how you think you know that someone is listening to what you are saying.
Hello and welcome to Freethinking Island. A lovely day once again where the prevailing winds of reason blow and the waves of logic and evidence flow. It's a lovely day, as we said, on the island. You can feel the breeze, the salt in the air, and we have with us special guest today, Chester Zik Daniel from Nevis, also Antigua and Trinidad and Tobago. We're going to be hearing from him, but before we get to him, as always, we've got right here Joy, the Kahlua Queen Holloway. How are you, Joy?
This is Joy, the Kahlua Queen Holloway, and of course I'm in very much holiday mood on the Freethinking Island because it is summertime and I'm feeling great, and I am here to save you from the diatribe that is dogma on the island with, of course, I have my rum and coke to loosen up any one of my guests. At least they don't talk too much and stuff. I'm here on the Freethinking Island with, again, yes, of course, Chester Zik Daniel. Zik, we'll be calling him from now on, is here with us, as David said, from the wonderful twin islands of St. Kitts and Nevis. Beautiful islands. Welcome.
Yes, welcome, Zik. You're
welcome
right here with
Island.
us again with Joy and me, David Inscaratius. How are you doing, Zik?
I'm doing well. Thank you guys for inviting me on your show. Very flattered, actually, that I was invited.
Please,
and I hope I do well.
You will, because I see some stuff in your bio that I got to dig into. It's quite interesting. So you're gonna do well. You're gonna be quite
dig away.
Interesting. But before we get to all of that, I want to big up again Hilaire Sobers and Clive Forrester from Yardie Skeptics and Yardie Skeptics at Blog Talk Radio, and the new show Hear Me Now. It's the Women's Forum featuring yours truly, along with some other fabulous ladies, Lisa Showman, Sharon Smith, Angeline. I cannot remember her last name right now, but it's a women's, we talk about women's issues. Angeline Jackson, yes. We talk about all kinds of women's issues, and be it religion, be it how women are doing in the Caribbean, but it's a very much Caribbean forum, and us females talking about all the issues that we got going on down there. Again, I have to talk about the Freethinking Island at gmail.com email and our Facebook page. Please like our Facebook page, the Freethinking Island, saving you from the diatribe that is dogma. The Caribbean people, black people, everybody, you got to wake up. Please get up. The alarm has gone off. You're still sleeping. And in this week, and today in New York, New Jersey, it is Gay Pride Day. And as we know, the Supreme Court overturned the Prop 8 in California and the gay rights. And now that means that the Caribbean people are scared as hell, thinking that this gay rights virus is going to spread
is
and infect everyone.
Everybody?
Well, the sky is
we're
still here.
We're all going to catch gayness.
Yeah, we're gonna all catch gayness. All of a sudden, all your husbands and straight relatives are gonna start running off and marrying other men and women, and the whole world's gonna come to an end.
No more straight.
We're still waiting.
Oh,
Yeah, that the voting rights. Some of the voting rights was gutted, And big ups to the Reverend Clifford Hall in Barbados, who said the gay rights marriage thing is a non-issue. He gets it. It's a non-issue. And,
wow, a Caribbean guy saying that.
yeah, in Barbados, he said it's a non-issue. There's a lot of people living together that ain't married and they're straight. And, they're doing exactly what the Bible said don't do.
That's
so
awesome.
come again with that whole talk. He said, please, pause, wheel and come again, dress back. Reverend Clifford Hall tell him to dress back. That's in Barbados. And so for this week, we had the voting rights somewhat gutted, gay rights soared, and Paula Dean tanked. Oh, well, there you have it in a nutshell. Welcome. And that's your week.
Just another normal week here in Freethinking Island, right?
Just another normal week.
Just a list of things going on.
That's why we need a rum and coke. That's why
we always need it. Like,
I mean, you get the good, the bad, and the ugly.
It's
good,
true,
the bad, and the ugly. And again, with the gay rights thing, the whole Caribbean, Jamaica, and everybody is just freaking out over this. Like, come on. Some of these guys don't even remember what their wives had for dinner last night, much less, come on.
Yeah, but when reason gets into the mix of faith, things just scatter all over around. It's just like a storm starts up.
Well, that is why one of the things I talk about a lot on Facebook is the need for reason when we make decisions about what we're believing, what our actions are going to be, instead of just simply following along with tradition, because tradition is a mode of behavior that has been going on for a while, and after a while, nobody thinks about it anymore. They just keep on doing it. It's kind of like getting up in the morning and putting on your pants. I mean, you really don't think about it. You just kind of do it because you know you're going outside. Well, putting on a pants is pretty, it's pretty harmless behavior. But there's some traditions.
Normally.
Normally, yes. But there's some traditions that I think that are harmful to humans, and some traditional beliefs that are harmful to humans. And we need to think about all these things. We need to think about what we do rather than just yield to tradition. And in the Caribbean, the anti-gay stance, it does lead to harmful behaviors towards people who are gay. And, it's not their fault why they're gay. I mean, there's no fault about it. It's just how they were made. And when you have a culture that encourages people to harm people simply because of their sexual orientation, that to me is a culture that needs an overhaul. That's a rottenness in the culture. But people, I talk to a lot of Caribbean people, and what they say is, "Oh, that's just what we do." Well, that's not good enough.
Yes,
that's just not good enough.
Saying that's just what we do is not. Yeah, you're right. Yes, it is not good enough. It's not a good excuse, and you don't just continue doing something even if it's negative, or you don't even look at it, revise it. Even in your daily life, you have to revise certain things you do. You might take a different route to work sometimes if there's a traffic jam. You don't just say, "Well, this is what I do. I just do it, and I've never changed. I'm gonna never change my hairstyle, my clothes, nothing. I'll still be wearing clothes from the 70s."
Right, exactly. It's one of the poorest excuses for doing something is saying that's just what we do. It's someone who is not thinking about what they're doing. It's someone who is essentially going along with the herd. And that to me is horrible.
It reminds me of that Miss California a few years ago that said, that she was against gay people again because that was how she was raised. And I found that really hit home a lot, because at that time, I think it was Obama was also looking like he was going to become president, and there were some whites that were saying, that they would like to vote for Obama, but their grandparents, who they respect, would not have done it, and that was just like not how they were raised. And when I looked at it, I realized, that it's just an abhorrent excuse, whatever you're looking at, and that the same way that people who maybe from a white tradition could come over and vote for black president, that for persons who may have had grandparents or parents that were homosexual, that were homophobic, they can make the same shift. But there were black people who wanted the white people to shift to support the so-called black president.
Exactly.
But when it came to homosexual rights, these same people were not as willing to shift. Like they couldn't.
No, never.
Exactly. They're willing to fall back on tradition
in some cases.
Right. But when they see benefits in it for themselves, they want everybody to shift and not follow tradition. And one of the things I say, we people say, well, we owe it to our parents, we owe it to our grandparents, we owe it to our ancestors to do what they do. I see it in a totally different way. I say I owe it to my parents, I owe it to my ancestors to be better than they were.
Yes, I think
and
that's
you
important.
you cannot be better. You cannot progress. Humanity can't progress if we are beholden to the traditions of our parents, our grandparents, or their ancestors, to the point where we aren't willing to examine them and we aren't willing to change simply because they were doing it. Well, we have a lot more knowledge today than they had. We have a lot more opportunity to advance than they have. So, I mean, my grandparents or my great-grandparents, they probably used an outhouse. I'm not going to use an outhouse today because I have better facilities. So, that should apply also to reason. We have better understanding of the human condition. We have better understanding of what creates culture. We should use these kinds of understandings to create better societies than our grandparents and our parents and our grandparents lived in. And that's how I see it.
And that's really important, because I think too that that there's no better way to honor your grandparents and great grandparents than to build on it. Because I think some people think that honoring means keeping it the same. To me, more honoring is when you build on it and make it better.
Because some of them didn't even go to school. So some of them didn't go to school. What are you going to do? Oh, well, that's not what we do. My grandparents were going to find they stopped going to school at 14. So that's just not what we do. We go to school till 14. No, you, as David said, build on it and be better, because that's what they really wanted for you to move on and take the next step. You can't just be there like a stationary bike or a stairmaster walking into nowhere. You got to move on.
Yeah, if we were following tradition, we'd still be slaves.
Thank you. And like Pauline said, Pauline wanted to be traditional because she wanted a nice plantation wedding. And she said, I is what I is. That was tradition. She said, I don't want to move forward. And the South is still stuck in the past.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Doesn't want to move forward and still want to live in this dream of, the beautiful plantation gone with the wind and the slaves. You know, what if they wanted to still do what they did? Exactly. You wouldn't be free. So you got to move on. But we getting all this talk. We getting all into this deep talk, and we got to introduce
and how great you are doing, as you said. I mean, you were there saying, "Well, you don't know this or that," but this is just like your post, very thought provoking, and I can't wait to hear your story.
Hot out the chamber.
Hot
this
out
is
the
Zik. Zik. So Zik, you told us that you are from St. Kitts and Nevis. Do you still live in St. Kitts and Nevis?
No. I live in the U.S. now. I've actually lived in the U.S. since I was 18. I left. My parents left Nevis when I was 4 years old. So
to give some scope to give some scope to people. Listen, how big is Nevis?
Yes.
Oh man, Nevis is a very small island, one of the smallest islands in the world, actually one of the smallest populated islands in the world. Okay. It's only 36 square miles. Oh. So there's really not a lot of room to maneuver. Everybody, it seems like, I haven't lived there since I was 4 years old, but from my interactions with people who do live in Nevis, it does seem like it's a very close-knit society. Everybody, almost everybody knows everybody else, and so that's kind of how it is.
It's about 8,000 people. Is it that? From what I remember,
I think it's about between 10 and 12,000 people.
Okay, 10, 12. Okay.
Wow, and for people who don't know, Zik would be called a Kittitian.
Well, actually, I would be called, because I was born on Nevis, I'd be called Nevisian. Right? Yeah, I'd be called a Nevisian.
What you would be called? What? Sorry.
A Nevisian.
A Nevisian.
Yes, a Nevisian. Wow. Kind of like division, but
I know, right? Division.
I always thought Nevisian, but it seems like it's Nevisian. This is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's what. That's how it's usually pronounced.
So maybe by the Nevisians pronounce it Nevisian, something like that.
So people, you see, you can be from a place of 36 square miles and still think out the box. You don't have to be from a big grand place, but
you certainly don't. But to that point, I have to say, to be honest, I left Nevis when I was 4 years old.
Okay, so you left for a while.
Yeah. So my cultural upbringing had I mean, the Nevisian part of it was my parents, basically. But I was raised in Trinidad and Antigua. Not to say that those communities are much different from Nevis. I mean, they're very conservative. They're Caribbean communities. But then I left the Caribbean when I was 18 years old, and I've lived in the U.S. ever since. Okay. Now, there are people who actually live in Nevis and St. Kitts who are free thinkers or lean towards a more free mode of thinking. And I think that those folks are probably much more worthy of praise than I am, because I'm living in the U.S. I do have a lot of free thinkers around me, whereas people in Nevis, they're by themselves. Anybody who's a free thinker in a place like Nevis, they're practically alone.
Yeah, I would imagine.
That's why we need these communities, because they're saying that when you only have like 10,000 people, it's harder to build an organization. As I said, people in the States always think you can go and drive somewhere and find someone, but when you're on an island, it's like
10,000, you're finding two people.
Two people.
Oh yes,
five is a lot,
And the two you can sit under a breadfruit tree and talk all day.
Yeah, and you know what?
But still,
And you know what? When you live on a small island, the importance of culture is even more pronounced, because everybody knows everybody, and everybody expects you to follow along with everybody. If you live in the U.S. and you live in big cities, I mean, I live in a fairly large city, Charlotte, North Carolina, but and most people who live in the U.S. we live in rather big cities, big communities. There is a sense of anonymity.
Yeah.
So you do have a kind of a freedom to kind of do certain things that other people are doing, because nobody cares. You're anonymous. Whereas in a place like Nevis,
yes,
everybody knows you. You can't be anonymous. So everything you do will be reported on. And so it's a lot more difficult, I think, for people in Nevis to break from the herd and go in a different direction.
Yeah, I must say one of those small atoms that is strongly bonded. The electrons are right there. They can't get away from the nucleus.
They can't get away. That's a great analogy.
They're just circling around in a more atom structure.
So I have a lot of sympathy. I have a lot of sympathy for people who live in small communities where the thinking is very, well, for want of a better word, very conservative and religiously conservative, and they want to break out of it. It's very difficult.
I just said that.
Well, you said religiously conservative and want to break out of it, but I see here that your father, it says that your father is a prominent Seventh Day Adventist minister.
Yes.
Okay, so how did you break free? I mean, I know that you only, we gotta get to this. This is a bombshell. Okay. This is the hot stuff right here. I don't want to linger. We ain't lingering. You're gonna bring me up from that. You're gonna bring me up from that, and you're gonna bring me, because you say, it's hard to get away, but I mean, that is harder to get away. Your father's not just sending you. Your father is the pastor. So how you get away?
Wow. Okay. Well, let me bring you guys back. It's quite a story, actually.
Take it back. Take it all the way back.
I
love it. I love stories.
Yeah.
I love when
I was about 7, I think, or maybe 8 years old, I got baptized as a member of the Seventh Day Adventist Church.
So you don't know nothing at 8 or 7, so yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, it's if you guys are familiar with Seventh Day Adventism, it's one of the most conservative, big.
Going on Friday night, don't come out till Saturday night. It used to drive me crazy with my friends. Yeah.
Yes. And so, I got baptized when I was a really young boy, and I remember one of my memories, and I think this probably started me down that road, because I was expecting, because I've always heard about people being baptized and how different they feel after, and what a transformative experience it is. They tell a story about when Jesus got baptized and this dove came down and the heavens started speaking. And it really, I thought, wow, this is going to be something.
As a child, of course, yeah.
Yeah, and so I wanted to get baptized because I wanted that feeling. I wanted the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Hopefully
even
the
if
dove don't shit on your head.
Yeah. Well,
man, I would have
maybe that's a property, but-
I would have settled for a pigeon or something, you know. What happened is I got baptized, and I remember feeling distinctly disappointed because all I felt was wet after. You know.
You can
Well,
go
for
into
some
the-
people, wet is be good. So I
it's
don't
good
know.
in certain circumstances, but
Wet is be good for some
I don't
people.
think we're in
So
that direction.
wet
No.
me down anyway.
No, that.
Wet me
But,
down,
you know,
honey. Oh,
I really just, you know, I mean,
Just
it
felt
really didn't do much for me.
Mm.
And that's when I started thinking, I was like, okay, what's this about? But then I, you know, powered through it and say, well, you know, I need to create this feeling for myself, and I need to keep inviting the God and the Lord and the Holy Spirit in and all that stuff. But I don't know, it really wasn't working for me. And I always had these questions about how did we even come about with saying that these things are true. How do we even know this kind of stuff? We've never heard God speak. You know, people are telling us that he's speaking, but we don't know. But anyway, when I was about 10 years old, I read the entire book of Roots by Alex Haley. And I remember that was another point in my life where I felt, I have an epiphany.
That's good, because, you know, reading Roots at 10 is that's pretty heavy stuff.
That's deep, yeah. And I said, got an epiphany from Roots. I mean, I watched Roots. I had a lot of epiphanies.
I was a strong reader. I was always a strong reader. Both me and one of my older brothers, we've always been strong readers. And so when I read that book, my mom had read it also. I mean, it's funny thing is we were both reading it at the same time, and I overtook her, and I finished the book long before she did. But one of the things that I realized after reading that book was that religion was really a cultural artifact. It was something that came along with culture. It was emergent from culture rather than something that is, independent of that experience. Because what happened in the book of Roots was, there was this guy in Africa. He got kidnapped. He had a totally different belief system. He came over to the U.S. and he was forced to adopt the belief system of his masters, and even adopt the name that they gave him. So there, I figured out, so this is why we have the names that we do, and then this is also why we believe in the religions that we do, because it was all part of that slavery experience. That right there was a bombshell for me, because I'd never really thought of it that way. And I never looked at religion the same after that. It was just one of those things where, whoa, this is all about culture. Well, if it's all about culture, that means that, practically all these other religions all around, everybody's claiming that they are the right religions. Well, that's just nonsense, because it's all about people's culture. And so be it. So I didn't take religion too seriously after that.
But how did that work out if you didn't take religion seriously after that, and your father being a pastor? I mean, were you still going to church and doing because I know Seventh Day Adventist, they have that whole thing Friday night, Saturday. So I guess you just kind of went through the motions.
I had to go through the motions. I mean, I was a kid, and you do what your parents tell you to do, and also my whole social structure, because everything we did was church related when I was growing up. So my entire social structure was about the church and about the people in the church. So all my friends, most of them, I don't think I had one friend who wasn't an Adventist. So everything was centered around that. So I would go to church, but I wouldn't go to church for any spiritual edification or anything like that. I'd go to church because that's where my friends were. And so that was a social experience for me. I completely understand people who say today, church is their social system, because I get it, because that's how it was for me when I was growing up. It was my social system. And to this day, a lot of my friends on Facebook are friends who I created along the way while I was going to church. So, a lot of those people are church people. And it's just part of my history. So yes, I did go to church. I was going to church all along, but it wasn't because I thought that religion was important or anything like that. It was just a social thing. Now,
at that time you were in, just a clarification. At that time, were you in Trinidad or Antigua or?
Oh, by that time I was in Antigua.
Okay.
By that time I was already in Antigua. In the Trinidad part, I was very young, still in Trinidad. All my what you would call growth in terms of my religious or my irreligious experience happened after Trinidad, and it started while we were in Antigua, and it continued along while eventually when I came to the U.S.
Because for me, I remember Antigua is a very religious. I mean, the Caribbean is very religious, but I know
which island is not very religious?
I remember Antigua in the Anglican Church from growing up. Was very strong religious country. At least that's my impression, even more than some of the other islands. But you could probably speak to that.
Interestingly, my father, he was very big on converting people from say Anglicanism and Catholicism and some of these other Pentecostalism. He was very big on converting them to the truth, to Adventists. Not
knowing all along his son was deconverting slowly, like a slow burning bomb.
They thought that they gave you roots now. They wish they could take back those roots.
Probably, when they hear this, they'll probably look back and say, "Oh, that's where we went wrong."
What was the impetus for doing that? I mean, I figure you're all Christian. What's the big motivating factor of converting other Christians, which follow the same dichotomy as all the other Christians?
That's a good question. That's a good question. Yeah, and the thinking there, as I was growing up and hearing all of this was there was only one true Christian church. All the others were imposters and pretenders. And the only true Christian church, there was one church, and this was the Adventist church. And interestingly, in order to do that, they had to show, my father was really big on showing other people from other religions where their religion was wrong. Right. And what happened is that same process that he used is the same process I use to show that all religion was basically nonsense. It was the same process. So what he did, he would use the process on all other religions except his own.
He compartmentalized.
Compartmentalized.
And I just wasn't willing to do that. And so I used that same process, and I used it on the Adventist religion just as I used it on any other religion. And it turned out that they all were full of crap.
Yeah, pretty much. What was being an Adventist like? I mean, I just know the whole mind-numbing Friday to Saturday thing, like, Jewish. And I find I know a couple of friends who are Adventists. Some on Facebook, I had to block them, and some, I had to unceremoniously cut loose a few.
What were they doing? Trying to convert
Don't even worry. It was annoying. And then another one, and they believe some really strange things, like that guy that converted the guy on the one with Charlie Sheen, that sitcom with Charlie Sheen, just really weird, Illuminati, all these weird beliefs they have, and I just thought that they were just another Christian church. But their followers seem to have these odd, paranoia almost.
Adventism is steeped on conspiracy theory, and there's a whole lot of it. When I was growing up, for instance, my dad and I suspect his colleagues, his fellow ministers, they were. I don't know. I've been away from it for a while, so I don't know if they still are heavy on this. But when I was growing up, they were heavy on claiming that the United States and the Catholic Church are going to unite as one, and they're going to institute this thing called the World Sunday Law and make everybody go to church on Sunday. And if you don't go to church on Sunday, they were going to persecute you. They were going to torture you. They were going to throw you in jail. And so all the Adventists there was going to be what's called a time of trouble.
I know that one. They're really big against the Catholic Church.
Yeah, and this is just before Jesus is going to come down and take over. So there's going to be this whole time of trouble, and everybody's going to be against the Adventists. And the Adventists are going to have to run up to the hills and hide. And also, if they catch the Adventists, they're going to try to torture them into accepting Sunday. But if you somehow withstand the torture,
Sunday?
you will go to heaven if you withstand the torture. But while if they're pulling out your fingernails and gouging out your eyes, if you say, oh, okay, I'll go to church on Sunday, then you will go to hell. Now,
it's all of us going to church
all
on Sunday.
of us
Are we
Sunday,
gonna?
Sunday.
These
All of
people,
us can.
these people are gonna be tortured for
Yes.
really for going to church
Yes.
on Sunday.
And you know, while as a kid, while I was growing up, before I kind of started recognizing this stuff was nonsense, that used to absolutely traumatize me, because I had, those were very bad choices I had to make. I've realized I'd have to make either a choice of getting tortured or later going to hell if I wasn't tortured. If I say I don't want to be tortured, hey, spare me. I don't want to be tortured. I'll go to church on Sunday, But if you do, then you're going to go to hell and you're going to get tortured there. So it was pick your torture, and I really didn't want to pick any torture.
Thank you. It's like, thank you, Ellen G. White, for your shit. Yeah.
Oh goodness, Ellen G. White. Don't get me started on that.
Yeah. But that's you were right. What you said, that they seem to be absolutely big on conspiracy theories.
Very big on it. Yeah. I mean, they have this thing about the Pope, and he has this number on his on his hat, and that hat corresponds to 666 if you add up the names in Roman numerals. I mean, come on. I mean, Ellen G. White adds to 666 too. If you add it up,
She sounded like a mentally. I read about her this week due to something else. I didn't even know that your bio, but I read up about her, and it seems that woman had some serious mental issues.
Yes.
And this is the thing with people suffering from mental problems. It's not funny. I mean, she could have been anyone nowadays. Some crackpot that you see in the subway writing and rewriting weird things, and people will relegate her as a like a laughing stock, or put her in, a mental institution. But they write these things, and then it's 100 years ago, and then all of a sudden everybody's following it, and you got this mass hysteria of what you just talked about. But the woman was mentally ill.
Well, this is why I say we have to always examine and re-examine tradition and what we believe and all these things, because we have to understand the source of some of these ideas and some of these notions. At the time when Ellen G. White was writing this stuff, people didn't understand mental illness. So someone that presented in what today we would know as a mentally ill person, someone presented like that, 150 years ago, probably looked like some very inspired person. Oh my goodness, there's some mystical thing going on, and they must be special. They must be getting some really, transcendent experience.
I wouldn't do that myself. So if they do that, they must do that. They see something different.
Exactly.
And the visions aren't seen as like schizophrenic or bipolar, hallucinations. They're seen as, ooh, she had a vision. Oh dear. But now we know better.
And that is why today we don't have those kinds of prophets. People wonder, well, how come we don't have people who see vision? If somebody says they saw a vision of whatever, nobody's going to take them seriously. People are like, oh, these people are crackpots. Well,
Mary
somehow
Jenkins
the crackpots today, the crackpots of today, they're crackpots today, but yesterday the same behavior, and we're saying, oh my goodness, they must be inspired by some great juju in the sky.
Exactly. So they're just born too late.
The crackpots of today were the prophets of yesterday.
Born too late. They're just unlucky. Just not at the right time.
Yes, poor them. They end up in a padded cell with a straight jacket.
I was looking. There was this lecture that this anthropologist gave at Stanford. His name escapes me now, but he's a famous anthropologist, and he was talking about the history of mental disease in society and why it persists, the evolutionary advantages and, these kind of things. And one of the things he said that I had never thought about, this was maybe about 2 years ago when I saw the lecture, he said that people, just about every religious prophet these kind of great charismatic prophets of yesteryear. He said just about every one of them suffered from some sort of mental illness that caused them to behave the way they do. And today, if we had those people today, they would be committed.
Yeah, like the person that wrote Revelations, all those visions and stuff like that, in a padded cell with a straight jacket.
Oh, come on!
Eating
Yes.
lithium day in and out,
Yes.
mad. But as I say, the crackpots of today were the prophets of yesteryear.
Yeah.
Just unfortunately born in the wrong time. They would have been great prophets. These wackadoodles that you see walk around the place. So wow, yeah, that was a taste of the 7 Days Adventist. I mean, and your dad actually believed these kind of things. You think that he really bought into this whole, the Catholics are gonna persecute people on Sunday? Did you? I mean, you got the inside scoop. You think he really believed that stuff?
I have my doubts. I have my doubts. My dad and I, we don't discuss religion anymore. For obvious reasons. I mean, it's not because I wouldn't want to do it. He doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
So
and he's still very much in the same place, same.
Oh yes.
Very
strong. That's his livelihood, and that's fine. Mm-hmm. It's just not something that I wish to be involved in, and so I don't really involve myself in it. But that's his thing. But as to whether or not he really believes it, I would really have to have that conversation with him. I have my doubts, but I can't say definitively one way or the other that he really believes it.
Yeah.
So, is he angry at you for leaving? I mean, does he know that you left, and kind of like, when did he realize that you broke, like you stopped? Like,
I think looking back at my life, I think that he might have suspected that I was going to be a little errant when at maybe the age of 14 or 15, I brought home a book about the theory of evolution, which is something that he was adamantly against. Because his argument was that monkeys would be still having humans. And we don't see that. So obviously the theory of evolution is a bunch of crackpot nonsense. And my thing, I was like, when I'm growing up, I'm like, okay, there's a scientific consensus that that the theory of evolution is aligns with reality. So I can't see how all these scientists could be that crazy when. So I said, well, let me read up on it. And I did want him to know that I was reading up on it. I wanted him to know that, I've never been shy about my my doubts. I've never really been shy about it.
And your curiosity. So you
curiosity.
You didn't hide any books and put them under the pillow. I don't want him to see me with this one or what.
It's kind of been my nature. I've just never apologized for my curiosity. I just can't do it. I've always thought that was a good thing. That was one of my better qualities, actually. Mm-hmm. So when I brought home the book about evolution, I deliberately placed it on the dining room table so he'd see it. And and when he did, he absolutely flew off the handle.
Oh, really?
And oh yeah. He was mad. He was really, really mad. He was like, "What is this book doing in my house?
Oh my goodness!
Who brought this in here?"
You would think that was a Playboy magazine.
I tell you,
sorry, not Playboy. Playboy is tasteful. Hustler.
I would have feared a whole lot better if he done that. But the evolution stuff is just so. But I just calmly told him, "Hey, I just wanted to read up on it. I didn't think there was anything to hide." And so I think by then he, if he was really paying attention, he would have known that this was not going to end well in terms of because
his book is so good. I mean, he should be happy that you're reading evolution, because then you would see how silly it is.
Exactly.
And you would believe more. I mean,
I just wanted to see what the hype was about.
Exactly. But that anger showed a lot. That anger made.
It showed his cards, probably.
Exactly.
It did. What it demonstrated to me was that he was not confident, and that had an impact. Yeah, that had a huge impact on me, and it only spurred me to research more, because I was like, my thing was, what was he so afraid about? You know, what was he so afraid about? And I just said, well, I'm going to dig some more. And
Exactly.
the more I found out that the way that they presented evolution in church was a very dishonest way. They mischaracterized it. And that made me angry at them for doing it, because I said, look, those people have been fooling me and others all along. They have mischaracterized the theory of evolution. It has nothing to do with monkeys getting human babies.
In like 20 years, your great grandmother was an orangutan.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with that.
Don't talk like grandma.
Yeah, and so that really pissed me off. That really pissed me off. And after that, the dishonesty, and that's the thing. It's the dishonesty. If I can tell you, there's one thing that I'd say I'm really, really pissed off at the entire church structure about, is the rampant dishonesty with which they advance their notions. Yes, it is so dishonest, and I absolutely dislike them for that. I don't have a neutral. Some people say, well, I don't care. I just I don't go to church, but I don't really care what they do. That's not me. I care about what they do because they're dishonest, and I don't like dishonesty.
And not only are they dishonest, but they're also dishonest and calling us dishonest.
Well, I like to take them on to do that.
Yeah.
Well, we're not really dishonest. I mean, we know we're not dishonest, but they are the king liars, and they're funny. They're all talking about the king of lies and Satan, and I'm like, if there was a Satan, it would be you, because you are the king of lies and the king of lying. Because I find a lot of people, when it comes to the theory of evolution, you back them upon it and say, have you read the book? Have you read the theory of evolution? Do you know anything about evolution? And they go, well, I got to research that more. No, I never read the book. And it's like a friend told a friend that told me it was a monkey and a woman and a baby, and it was a human.
Exactly. And you know what? I have never, through all the discussions I've had about evolution with religious people, conservative religious people, that is, I've never ran into someone who doubted the theory of evolution, who actually understood it,
or read the book.
Actually knew what it was.
Have you ever met anyone that read the book? Read the Origin of the Species?
Actually, no. Not anyone who says, oh, it's a bunch of the theory of evolution doesn't align with reality. I've just never met someone who actually understood what it was.
No, they really don't.
And so a lot of what they're saying is based on ignorance, and a lot of these people are getting their science from the pulpit. It's the worst place to get your science education.
Oh Lord, well, no, that is not the place. And a lot of people are very proud to say, well, I don't know all these science things, so so you would rather get it second-hand, third-hand, fifth-hand, tenth-hand information, like
from
gossip, like gossip. A friend told a friend, they should tell me that this happened, no confirmation, no checking into anything, and they wouldn't conduct their lives this. Well, then again, some of these people will conduct their lives. So they will conduct the rest of their life like that. They'll hire a gardener, and he'll dig up the whole lawn. And where'd you get him from? Oh, a friend of a friend told me.
He's just a mysterious gardener who has different eyes, and
he told me open my front door. He needed to get a phone message, and then he robbed me. So some of these people are stupid anyway.
But he was a really
but you make a good point when you say though that people actually pay more attention to some of their other decisions that they make. And the decision that they should be paying the most attention to, which is, their beliefs, their core beliefs, the thing that drives them through life. They don't really pay much attention to the genesis of it all. They just kind of just go along with their, hey, this is what grandma was doing. So I'm just going to do it.
It's amazing. And that's eternal life at stake, according to them. You know what I mean? What could be more important than that?
If you're going to live forever, I would investigate. I would find out where I'm going to be, if I can get a nice seat.
Exactly.
I want to know where I can be.
First class, or I can be in the back. I mean, come on.
I just want to know when they're flying on planes, they want to know if they'll be first class or economy, or as they say in Barbados, hobby class.
Hobby class.
But they didn't even check in.
I'm class. But no, it's amazing. It's that the things, And it just makes you realize that perhaps it's just that deep down, it is because it's not that important in certain ways. Because
No, I think they just don't want to know because
you
they
know,
know if they go start digging, they're gonna open up a can of worms.
yeah, but
And
exactly.
I think they know that they're in a delusion, but they just want to be in a delusion.
That's
And
it. That's it.
You said earlier about the few, like even the Seventh Day
Yes.
Adventists having the few against the many.
Well, that's huge with them. That's huge.
I'm thinking, but a lot of religions, it seems that is very attractive to people. They
That
seem
is.
to want to believe that we are the few, right, that
That
have
is,
this key, and the
Yes.
whole world is fake or doesn't understand or doesn't get it. And do you
And
think that just
interestingly,
attracts them to being part of it?
yeah,
Just want to be the
interestingly,
faithful few.
Yeah, interestingly, they say that, but yet still they want to grow the number, which
Right,
which is a contradiction.
I love that.
They work hard to grow that number, and they brag about how many more are coming in.
Right.
yeah, and
Okay.
they always say, "Oh, we're
Right.
persecuted," but you're such a huge number, and where are you? And you know what? What is it? Why are they growing the number? What is it really? Is it an ego thing? Is it a money thing, or is it money and ego to say,
It
my
is-
team got more than yours because it's mostly men at the top, so it's an ego thing.
I'll tell you what, it's both. It is both. I know from my experience with Adventist Church, especially when I look back at it now, it is a business. And what they're doing is when they go out to convert people, what they're doing is creating market share, expanded market share for their product. The first thing you do when you come in, they tell you, here are the things that you buy. And of course, everybody needs to buy these books by Ellen G. White and stuff like that.
Mm.
And so, they create, what they're doing is creating market share. And of course, part of it is, you're gonna, they're gonna have additional revenue from the tithes and offerings that these additional people could bring in. So you are expanding the not just the market share, but the entire industrial complex around that surrounds it. You're expanding that whole thing by bringing in people.
Your father's gonna kill you for releasing these secrets.
Well, look, if people thought about it even a little bit, they could figure it out. I mean, I don't know why, other people haven't figured it out. That's what it is. It's a business. It's plain and simple a business.
Is your mother still involved? Your parents?
Your
mother
both,
your siblings and stuff, if you have any, they still.
One of my older brothers, I have three brothers. One of them is also an atheist, like me.
Okay. Lord, Lord, poor parents. Oh Lord.
Yeah.
Put it in.
Yeah. So yes, out of a home that was very conservative, produced two atheist children. So that's that. But
are your parents still living?
Oh yes, they are, and I'm sure that at some point this will get back to them.
And you're not going to stop it. Zik is not going to stop this for sure.
No. Like I say, when my father does his thing and he doesn't apologize for it, I do my thing. I don't apologize for it.
Good.
I mean, we just do our thing. So I mean, I respect myself, and the respect that I have for myself says, look, you go ahead and do your thing just like anybody else does. So that's it. I don't have to apologize for what I believe.
And I see Facebook is kind of like your platform. I love that.
Yes.
That you go off, which is cool. That's what it's supposed to be.
I love it.
If the other people can be going off on click like for Jesus to give you this bundle of money. I seen a big stack of cheddar, a big stack of money, and it said, say amen, and this will come to you at the end of the week, and 30,000 idiots click that. You can go off too. Do you have family and friends that see that, and what do they think? Do they speak to you? Have they stopped speaking to you? Tell me, what's that angle? Yeah,
my Facebook presence, has morphed. At first, when I got on Facebook, it was just about sharing pictures, what everybody else was doing. And then I think it was, if I remember correctly, it was right about the time when they had the earthquake in Haiti. I forgot what year that was.
2010, because
it probably was.
I remember.
But it was right about that time, if I remember correctly, that I saw some posts that people were making saying, pray for the people in Haiti, blah, 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 and all these kind of things. And I, for some reason, I just got really pissed off about it. And I forgot exactly what the content of my status update was, but it was a status update directly confronting that kind of thinking, because I was saying, look, if God is responsible for everything, then the people in Haiti, what did the people in Haiti do to deserve it? And I just went off on the entire concept of pray. Who are we praying for? We're going to pray to the same person or the same entity that caused this to happen or allowed this to happen to these people. It just didn't make any sense. And I went off then, and what I think that was when people started to take notice and say, oh my God, did you just say that?
Yeah.
And, I said, well, what do you know? I'll continue. And I never stopped. It just started going and going after that. And I just never stopped. So right now, 99% of my Facebook presence, I think, is about encouraging people to think and encouraging people to use reason, encouraging people to examine the basis for their own ideas, for their own beliefs. And religion is just one of them, but there are other things that people believe that I think they haven't really thought about. Yeah, but religion is a big deal.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say that I really, really enjoyed your post, because I think it's not just getting information out there, but you do it in a way often that is fun. And I remember one post in particular where you just said to the people that you were the mighty Zik, you were the almighty God, they were to worship you, and you just casually ask them why, just give reasons why they don't want to, if they don't want to.
Right.
For quite a while. And people are like post after post, response after response, and nobody gave you a good reason as to why they did not think you were God. And I just thought I was just eating the popcorn. I loved it, because I went
requires, so, some of what I do requires a little bit of hubris.
Right. That's right.
So you're not really the angry. No. You're not the angry person, because people say, "Oh, angry atheist." No. You're not angry, and as you said, you're mostly angry at the lying and the lies, which nobody likes to be lied to or to be deceived. So you're not angry, and it's funny. You gotta stoke people's curiosity, because I think there are a lot of people who are there in the shadows who just click the Jesus and click on the like and click on the money, but they would really love for some person to say something different, and they might just be like, wow, I was thinking that, and I just was clicking the like Jesus because all my friends did it, but I really wasn't feeling it all along. So
they were exhibiting what I call herd mentality.
The herd mentality,
herd behavior, and I spoke about that in one of my status updates today. Actually, this herd behavior. I mean, social animals exhibit herd behavior. That's what we do. Right. And when I go back to the example of putting on your pants when you get up in the morning. I mean, that is an example of herd behavior. We go outside and we put on the clothes. The clothes that we wear are the fashion of the day. Right. We're not gonna wear something that was fashionable. Well, usually it is the case. We're not gonna wear something that was fashionable 2,000 years ago. We're gonna wear something that's fashionable today. And the only reason why we do that is that herd behavior. Well, not all herd behavior is bad, is harmful or anything like that. But some of it requires that we change it.
It's a good point there, because a lot of times, as you said, there's no rules saying that you can't wear certain clothes. There's no rules saying that you can't wear this kind of tunic or whatever. But you still feel the discomfort that some would feel if they had to do it. I mean, if you had to wear high heel shoes out there tomorrow, I mean, there's nothing saying you can't do it, but
you can do it, but men,
But even if you wanted to make a point, it would take a lot of strength or a lot of effort to do it.
It would,
and it would also take a lot of physical skill.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have, but
for you men, but
But you understand the point there is that we all engage.
That's right.
In some level of herd behavior. The thing is when it comes to religion, they demand that everybody engage in this behavior, while at the same time, that type of behavior that surrounds religion discourages people from being curious enough to examine reality and to progress based on that examination. And I have a big problem with religion when it comes to that. So if you notice, if you go through history, every avenue, every time that humanity made any significant leap in understanding reality, who opposed it the most? It was the religious authorities of the day. Galileo had to put up with it. Copernicus had to put up with it.
Galileo is my favorite one.
Oh, I love Galileo. Darwin had to put up with it.
Yep.
I mean, they all have to put up with it, so that's the big problem I have, I have many big problems with it.
Yeah.
But
For
that's
every
one of the
great
big
step,
problems
for every great step that humanity wants to make, there is the religious,
Yes.
the religious shaking the stick and warning against moving forward,
So
and
if
standing in the way of progress.
yeah,
Every step.
My thing is religion doesn't add enough benefit to humanity to make up for the harm that it causes. And so I say, let's just get rid of the damn thing and move along with it.
So you would consider yourself anti-theist, anti-religious in that kind of way? That you
very much,
much so. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I am not just passive about religion.
Right.
A lot of people are. That's their prerogative.
Yes.
But I'm not just passive about religion. I think that it should be this way because I think it causes more harm ultimately than the good it causes. And people sometimes say, "Well, what about moderate religion?"
Yes.
Well, here's the problem I have with moderate religion. Religious moderates pay homage to a book. For instance, let's talk about just the Christian people for now. Religious moderates pay homage to a book that has a lot of vile stuff in it. Okay, they say that this book is the pure and honest word of the God Almighty, and this is the God that we're going to worship. Well, what they're doing is they are smart enough, let's say, to ignore some of the more vile parts of that book and some of the more vile orders of that book. They're going to do that. But now you come to the fundamentalists, who actually take what the moderates say seriously. And so what happens is, and the fundamentalists cause problems. So what happens is moderate religion creates a platform that legitimizes fundamentalism. What the fundamentalists are essentially doing is taking what the moderates say and actually being serious about it. The moderates aren't being serious about what they claim. The fundamentalists are being serious about what the moderates are claiming. And so the moderates are providing that platform for fundamentalists to operate. If you get rid of moderate religion, fundamentalism falls flat because there is no more, they cannot, it cannot be legitimized again in society. Moderates are the ones that fuel that legitimization, and it goes along from there. So I think the moderate religion does play a big role in the sustenance of fundamentalism.
It props it up. Whether it knows it or not, it helps to prop it up. So yes, we have been listening to Zik Daniel coming from the mighty Zik. Yes, let us not forget that, from the island of St. Kitts and Nevis and Antigua and Trinidad, and he is dropping knowledge like bombs on us today on the Freethinking Island. Yes, bombs dropping on the Freethinking Island. We, sharing all kinds of stuff. He come out of the 7 Day Adventist church, so please, you can free yourself too. You don't have to stay there. He's out and he's doing quite well.
If I got out of that, and from where I was, oh man, anybody can.
And his father is a minister in the 7 Days Adventist. So if he could get out, please, you can too. Free yourself, free your mind, and your ass will follow, like Parliament Funkadelic says. Free your mind, and his ass followed.
Yeah, that's some good music right there.
Some good music. I
feel like singing there.
Do you have any parting words? Any parting shots?
Parting
shots, because you shoot a lot from the chamber today.
I have a huge passion for reason, for people using reason in their discourse, in forming their ideas, in informing their opinions. I think if people use reason more, we would have a lot less hate, we would have a lot less crime, we'd have a lot less, we'd get along a lot better with each other. So ultimately, I think that reason, when combined with empathy, creates a better world for us all. And we don't need religion for that. As a matter of fact, religion is often the antithesis of reason.
Mm-hmm.
And if we get that, if we move past that, societies that have moved past religion are much better off in this world. We have working examples in our own world. When we look at society that have moved past religion, they are on average better off than societies that haven't. And so if we decide to apply reason more, I think we'll have a much better world and we'll all get along a lot better. So that's where I want to go. Don't be afraid. I want to encourage people not to be afraid to challenge tradition. Tradition is not set, it should not be set in stone. We can make our own traditions. Any tradition that we follow was made by somebody. So we can make our own tradition now.
That's right.
We can apply reason and we can start our own tradition. It takes courage, it takes strength of character, but it can be done. And, folks like me, you guys, we're all doing it right now. We come from the Caribbean that has this strong religious tradition.
Exactly.
But guess what? We have said, look, we are not slaves to tradition, and I use that slavery word deliberately.
Mm-hmm.
We're not slaves to tradition. We can move on from that, and that's what we've been doing.
Lovely words.
Lovely.
You share some gems, and that is so encouraging to tell people, do not be afraid. And that's what I always say. Do not be afraid to challenge. Do not be afraid to question, and question anything and anyone. You have to do it in all parts of your life. Well, you should be doing it in all parts of your life. And you should do it with religion too. That is not off the table and it's not out of bounds. Thank you so much, Zik, for sharing and
so much
joining
for
us
having me.
here on the Free Thinking Island.
Thanks so much for having me. I had a lot of fun. Guys.
Good. I had a lot of fun.
Thank you.
It was enjoyable.
Enjoyable. And I felt, pardon the plug here, but when you were talking, I couldn't help but think of No Religion, N-O Religion, K-N-O-W Reason, which is my blog name, but I think that sums up a lot of what you said just now. That. You've got reason and religion are not friends. They're not foes. They are definitely absolute foes. Yeah, thank you so much, Zik. As I said, I really enjoyed it, and I think so much that you gave us in terms of knowledge of the Adventist Church and the Caribbean. You brought multi Caribbean background there to us today too, and I like the Book of Roots. When you're talking about roots, we need to push that as the Book of Roots, and that these are the kind of books that we gotta look at, not the Book of Ruth, but the Book of Roots, and that we need to go back to those roots, because that's really where we see the problem with religion. It really is that roots word is really important, because when you really get to those roots, you do realize that these branches that we see are not really from a firm foundation. So thank you so much for coming.
Absolutely,
and
guys.
for giving us that good send-off as well. So until next time, where the prevailing winds of reason blow and the waves of logic and evidence flow, my name is David Ince, aka Caribbean Atheist, signing out from a warm and sunny Freethinking Island.
And I gone from Bow here from the Freethinking Island. Thank you so much again, the mighty Zik, the Lord Zik, High Supreme Zik, whatever Zik you want to call him.
He's better than God.
Well, I guess. But like I always like to say, please don't be afraid. Please think. And you too can escape the clutches of the lies and the diatribe of dogma. Please think and please ask questions. Gone.
Never questioning the source from which your moral code derives. You think that suffering is part of some great plan that's been devised. I wonder when we'll be rid of your life.
But when we hide our ideas and our beliefs, whatever they are, because we're afraid of the backlash, what we are doing is legitimizing the backlash. We end up basically legitimizing the backlash. We help to create the environment that would give such an idea a backlash. What we have to do is expose people to our ideas and expose them and expose our ideas in a way that we can defend the ideas. And once that is done, people start thinking, you know what? I know this person. He's a really nice person. I like this person. And they have this idea that I never thought that was a great idea. But now that they have it, I'm starting to think about it. I started to think about it more. Even if I don't agree with the idea, even if I don't want to admit that I agree with the idea, I really like this person and he's cool. So, and so, there was one of my friends, it's funny, one of my friends from high school,